Tournament bass fishing came onto the scene in the late 1960s when a gentleman by the name of Ray Scott started up the Bass Angler Sportsman Society, aka BASS, or better known today as BASS. In 1967, Scott hosted 106 anglers in his first organized tournament on Beaver Lake in Arkansas. Since that day, bass has continued to grow with anglers from around the world fighting to prove they're the best bass fishermen on earth. The likes of Bill Dance, Jimmy Houston, Roland Martin, Denny Brower, Larry Nixon, Rick Clunn, and many others really made a name for themselves fishing Bassmaster events. But it wasn't until 1990 that a young angler came onto the scene and might have changed the sport of bass fishing forever. In 1967, the year Ray Scott hosted his first bass event, a young man by the name of Kevin Vandam was born in Kalamazoo, Michigan on the 14th of October. As a child, Kevin enjoyed all fishing, but got turned on to bass fishing at an early age. His grandparents had a place on School Section Lake in Michigan, which ultimately is where Kevin caught his first bass at 7 years old. Kevin has said on record he enjoys all fishing, but that first bass really left an impression in his mind. After that first bass, Kevin became addicted, trying to catch bass every chance he got, whether that be walking the banks or fishing out of his grandpa's rowboat. Kevin really started to become skilled at catching bass early on in life. Kevin started fishing tournaments with his older brother Randy at the age of 13 and really grew from there. By the time the mid to late 80s rolled around, Kevin started making a name for himself on the Michigan tournament trails, working his way up towards fishing the best tournament trail in the country. In 1990, Kevin stepped into fishing his first season of the Bassmaster Invitationals. Prior to him joining Bass, guys like Denny Brower, one of my favorite anglers, had already become a household name in the bass fishing world. Denny was the master of pitching and flipping, and in my opinion, the best jig fisherman ever lived. But when Kevin entered the picture, a whole new style of fishing was introduced to us. Before Kevin, bass fishing was considered to be very slow and tedious to the outsiders looking in, but Van Dam changed that entire narrative early on in his career.
Kevin, are you an athlete?
Absolutely. Come hang with me for a day if you don't think so.
What was it that Kevin was doing so differently? He was fishing at a speed and pace like never seen before. Kevin believed the more casts equaled the more opportunities, and the more opportunities equaled the more bites. This very style is what we all know today to be called power fishing. Unlike Brower, you would rarely see a finesse lure on the end of Van Dam's rod. He was known for burning spinnerbaits and crankbaits at a speed so fast it would make most of us tired to even watch. This very style, though, in my opinion, changed bass fishing forever, and also helped bring Van Dam more success, making him one of the best bass fishermen early on in his career. Not only did Kevin have success early on, but he carried that success over a long 32-year professional career. During that time, Kevin has racked up accomplishments rivaled by very few ever. He won 26 tournaments, 7 Angler of the Year titles, and 4 Bassmaster Classics, including back-to-back classic wins only done by 2 other anglers ever, Rick Clunn and Jordan Lee. Kevin has earned more money bass fishing than anyone ever, with some estimating that number to be around $8 million. In 2002, Kevin was awarded the first ever ESPY award for the best outdoor sportsman. That year, he won the Bassmaster Classic and the FLW Championship, making him the #1 angler in the world. Kevin has done a lot for the sport of bass fishing, whether that be his charitable donations or his love for the fans. Kevin can be frequently seen talking to fans, signing autographs long after the tournament day has ended. Kevin has a lot of major sponsors, which has allowed him to produce his own products, including rods, reels, and lures. It's hard to find tackle stores in America that doesn't have something with KVD on it. In 2019, Kevin fished his last Bassmaster event and is now with MLF on the Bass Pro Tour. Kevin might not be as dominant as he once was, but he is still no one to look over. With guys like Ott Defoe and Jacob Wheeler really becoming the best of the best, Kevin has still managed to compete at a high level, even winning in 2021 at Lake Chickamauga. Regardless of when Kevin decides to retire, I hope we all can appreciate everything he has done for the sport of bass fishing. Kevin is a big reason why we all love fishing so much. His influence can be seen across the world with many anglers, from professionals to weekend warriors like myself. Kevin, I want to personally say thank you for what you have done, and I wish you nothing but the best.